They started pounding on the doors before the emergency alert even finished blaring from my phone. I'd just microwaved a mug of instant ramen, hoping to drown another weeknight in cheap noodles and reruns. Before all this, my life was small but routine. Call center agent, 29, splitting rent with my little brother Chris in a crumbling 2-bedroom above Jimmy's Nails and Spa. My joints always ached by 8 p.m. since the elevator's been broken 2 months, and I always worried about the insulin running out in the fridge because Chris never remembered to check the expiry dates. He barely remembered to call Mom. She's 3 states away, and her voicemails fill up the moment she hears news about bad weather or layoffs. But I'd finally stopped feeling guilty for ignoring her last 3 calls when every phone in the building screamed at once, not just mine. You could hear the warble echoing down the stairwell, neighbors cursing, someone dropping what sounded like a whole box of ceramic plates. I reached for my phone, sloshing ramen on the threadbare couch, and read, "Zombie emergency. Alert, do not open your door tonight." Then the words flickered, glitched. Something about unauthorized movement. Then the alert blinked out. Static and buzzing filled the silence that followed. A sound like someone dragging a metal rake across a radio dial, worming under my skin. Chris yelled from his room, his voice shrill with panic. "Hey, what the hell is this?" I wanted to answer him, but that's when the first pounding started. Not polite, not like the mailman, but desperate. Someone's fists, or more than one, slamming on 5A's door across the hall. Our walls are so thin I could picture Mrs. Garza's little dog barking itself hoarse behind the pet gate. My hands were slick with sweat. I'm not great in emergencies, never have been. Once, during a fire drill, I'd frozen on the landing and blocked half the floor from getting out. Claustrophobia makes my vision tunnel. The more people crowd, the more I want to vanish. Now, though, it wasn't just people. The pounding kept a stuttering, weird rhythm. 3 slow thuds, then a rapid cluster, like someone using both fists and their feet at once, or a marionette with tangled strings. There was a smell, too. It didn't come through the door so much as seep under it, heavy and metallic, like pennies and spoiled lunch meat left in a hot car. Chris came out, eyes wild, holding Mom's old baseball bat, the one with his name sharpied on the handle. He said, "Is this a prank? Are we supposed to hide?" He was shaking. I was too, but I tried to sound older than I felt. "We barricade, windows too, just like the drill at school. Don't open the door for anyone." I didn't mention that my phone screen kept flickering, or that, in the static, I could almost hear a voice whispering something that sounded like my own name. The pounding stopped. The silence after made every creak and footstep in the hall sound enormous. Then, from outside, something rasped along our peephole. Not a hand, I swear, it clicked, like teeth on glass, tapping out that same strange rhythm. 3 slow, then a burst of frantic taps. That's when my phone lit up again. This time the alert said, "They know your names now. Do not open the door." Chris's phone buzzed too, but his screen glitched, showing my contact photo, me, grinning with a chipped front tooth from when I fell off my bike in 6th grade. The ringtone was my laugh, from a voicemail I left him last Christmas. It was calling from outside our door. Chris's eyes darted to me like he expected an answer, like I was supposed to have a plan. The phone in his hand wouldn't stop ringing, my own laughter echoing out tinnily from the cracked speaker, filling the room with a sound I'd always found comforting. Until now. My heart kicked in my chest. I grabbed his phone and thumbed the power button, but the ringtone kept playing, louder. The contact photo warped, my face melting at the edges, teeth sharpening. There was another scrape at the peephole. I felt it in my molars, that teeth-on-glass rhythm drilling through bone. I swallowed down the urge to retch as the smell got worse. Hot, sweet rot. A memory of the time I'd forgotten cold cuts in my backpack for a week after that failed diet in college. Chris took a step back. He nearly knocked over the insulin bag on the counter. I snatched it, mind darting to stupid, normal things. How expensive it was. How Mom would kill us if we let it spoil. How I should have let her talk last time she called. In the hall, something started muttering. It wasn't words, more like syllables twisted inside out. Too fast and low, too close. Chris hissed, "What if it's Mrs. Garza? What if she needs help?" His hands were shaking, knuckles bloodless around the bat. For a second I almost caved, almost said we should check. Then I remembered the alert. They know your names now. I pressed my ear to the door, not breathing, listening. The thing in the hall stopped muttering and, as if it felt me there, let out a wet, choking snort. Something heavy thudded against the wood, right at my head level. I staggered back. We dragged the bookcase across the door. My old calculus textbooks, Mom's sewing kit, the dumb snow globe from our first Christmas here. I grabbed the rubber doorstop from under the fridge and shoved it into the bottom gap, where the smell was leaking through, and crammed the rolled-up welcome mat in after. Chris started taping up the lock with packing tape, hands fumbling, sweat beading on his forehead. He's always been the brave one, the fixer, but now he wouldn't look at me. I saw the scar on his knee, the one from when he wiped out on a skateboard as a kid. He used to think it made him tough. The lights flickered and died. Power gone. No fridge hum, no street lamp glow from the window. Just our breathing, the keening whine of the phone, and something that shuffled and clicked up and down the hall, stopping at each door. Far away through the walls, a baby cried and was quickly shushed. Someone pounded on the fire escape. Above us, something heavy fell, followed by the wet smack of flesh. Chris squeezed his eyes shut. "I wish I'd never moved back," he whispered. Guilt dug into me. He'd only come home because I'd lost my job last winter, couldn't keep the rent on my own. I tried to touch his shoulder, but he shrugged me off and held the bat tighter. A new message flashed across my phone, white letters on a black screen. "If you hear yourself outside, do not answer. If you see your own face through the peephole, do not let it in." Chris glanced at me, terrified. "You ever talk in your sleep?" Before I could answer, a voice that sounded just like mine, down to the wheeze from my old asthma, whispered through the door. "Let me in." I forgot my keys. The syllables dragged, broken in all the wrong places. Too slow. I wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. Just this shrinking, airless apartment, and the pounding, the smell, the wrongness getting closer. I counted the insulin pens and thought about whether the fridge would keep cold till morning. The bat slipped from Chris's grip, rolled under the table. My phone buzzed, then fell silent. For a moment, I thought maybe the worst was over. Then I heard my own voice, now at the window. "It's me. You forgot to lock the balcony." Glass shuddered in its frame as something pressed against the balcony door, warping the cheap metal lock. The voice, my voice, kept coaxing, softer now, a sick, lulling patience. Chris jerked toward the window, wide-eyed, and I grabbed his wrist hard enough to leave marks. "Don't look," I hissed. He froze. I could feel his pulse thrumming under my hand. Shadows rippled across the curtains, shapes wrong at the joints, not bending like arms and legs should. I shoved the kitchen chair under the handle and yanked the blinds down. My knee hit the radiator, and for a second, white pain flashed through the old scar tissue from a fall years ago, a memento from chasing the ice cream truck barefoot. The chair trembled under the pressure. I pressed my forehead to the peeling paint, fighting the urge to scream. My thoughts spun in loops. What if it breaks through? What if it's already inside? What if I let myself in and don't even remember doing it? Chris staggered back, muttering something about checking the bathroom window. I tried to warn him, but the words snagged in my throat. My phone vibrated again. A message or a glitch. This time, it will sound like family. It will wear your skin. Do not respond. A picture loaded, grainy and off-center. Me and Chris, last Thanksgiving, half-eaten pie in the foreground. Except my eyes in the photo were smeared black, pupils stretched wide, mouth just a little too long. There was a sudden sharp pop from the balcony, a crack in the glass. I bolted, dragging Chris after me, past the sagging bookshelf and the piles of laundry I kept meaning to fold. The scent had changed, copper and something chemical, like burning plastic. Sweat prickled my scalp. The lights from outside had vanished. Every window across the alley was pitch black. But something flickered faintly through the cracks. A strobe, as if headlights kept passing and passing but never stopping. Chris jammed towels against the bathroom window, hands fumbling so fast he knocked over his pill organizer. Colored capsules rolled everywhere. I knelt, scraping them together with shaking fingers, and almost cried when I saw my reflection in the chrome drain. For a second, my face blurred, jaw unhinged, something behind my eyes. Then it was just me again, pale and sweat-soaked. I handed Chris his insulin. He mumbled thanks, voice dry as old paper. We listened for the scraping at the window, the shuffle of feet on the balcony. But it was quiet now, which was somehow worse. I tried to remember where I'd put the little flashlight from my earthquake kit. The only thing I could find was my wallet, frayed, corners chewed from the time I let the neighbor's cat in. Inside, 3 wrinkled singles, my old library card, a photo of Mom in her nurse's scrubs, smiling with the same chipped front tooth I'd inherited. I shoved it back in my pocket, wishing I could call her, wishing I'd picked up when she called. A groan echoed through the pipes, deep, rattling, like someone gargling broken glass. Then, 3 knocks on the wall behind the shower, spaced just like before. Chris clapped a hand over his mouth, eyes fixed on the tile. "The neighbors?" he mouthed. I shook my head. No footsteps. Just those slow, deliberate knocks. My phone buzzed, battery at 12%. New alert. If you hear knocking inside the walls, do not reply. Do not leave the bathroom. Stay away from the mirrors. I squeezed the phone so hard my fingers ached. A wet, slithering sound curled through the pipes, closer, closer, until a pale hand with a mouth where the palm should be slid out of the shower drain, fingers gnawing, teeth clicking my name.